Welcome to another exciting episode of The Trading Bell. This week on the program, we'll be discussing matters to do with the petroleum sector, and we shall be speaking to the Managing Director for RUBiS. RUBiS is a company that has been hitting the headlines for the last few months, and we'll be getting a deeper perspectives from none other than the Managing Director, and that is Jean-Christian Bergerin, who will be speaking to us on the program. But before we get into that interview, let's take a look at his profile. Jean-Christian Bergerin was appointed to the Board of Directors of Conocobil on 21st May 2019. Jean-Christian is an accomplished senior-level executive with a 30-year track record of successful leadership and proven performance within the petroleum industry. He joined Total in 1990 and held various positions in sales and operations, project management and business strategy. In addition to business responsibilities in France and Europe, he also served in Pakistan from 2000 to 2003 and in Cameroon from 2006 to 2009 as Managing Director. From September 2015 to August 2018, he served as Total's Executive Vice President for Central and East Africa, undertaking an operational leadership role in a multilingual and multicultural environment, including Kenya as Chairman of the Board of Directors of Total Kenya PLC. His last assignment for Total was in Saudi Arabia in the position of Project Director. Jean-Christian joined the RUBiS Group in April 2019 as CEO for East Africa and Group Managing Director, RUBiS Energy, Kenya. Thank you, sir, for making time for us, and welcome to the Trading Bell.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, RUBiS has created a very interesting pattern in the Kenyan petroleum sector, especially coming in strong to buy off Conocobil, and it's quite a very interesting time when you look at the big picture. For you, as you start off, what are some of the key issues that really saw you coming into the Kenyan market?
Actually, the business model of RUBiS, which is a French company, is to grow by acquisition, and we were looking carefully about Africa because we believe Africa is a continent with a very steady growth. So we were looking at the opportunities to get into that market, and we believed that East Africa and especially Kenya was one of the places to be. Mm-hmm. So we were looking at opportunities in Kenya especially, and Conocobil came, and after that Gulf Energy came. So that's our strategy, to grow where the growth seems to be the most steady one. So that's why we decided to do that move.
All right. So talk to us about your plans, especially when it comes to returning RUBiS Energy Kenya performance.
Our plan is quite aggressive, I would say, in terms of investment and in terms of bringing value to the Kenyan market. We have to acknowledge that the company Conocobil and Gulf, to some extent, these two companies were lacking a little bit of investment and focus. So it is our job to make sure that the retail outlets, for instance, are the best possible in order to satisfy our customers. So we'll be investing a lot in retail, but not only, because we see also many other opportunities in LPG, in bitumen, mm-hmm. In lubricants. Mm-hmm. So we have a full range of projects in order to, as I said, come up with the best possible value for the Kenyan customers.
All right. And Mr. Jean, as you come into the Kenyan market, we've been experiencing the coronavirus pandemic. And how has the run been when it comes to penetrating the market in a very volatile environment?
We have to acknowledge that it was not part of our plan. Mm-hmm. So at the same time, RUBiS looks very long term. So we are managing the situation with the COVID-19 situation. Obviously, we had to adapt the company, we have to adapt our plans, but nothing changed as far as the long-term roadmap and investment are concerned, because we see the situation in Kenya as a very long-term one. So we didn't really slow down our business. We adapted, as I said, for the day-to-day operations, but it does not affect the vision we have for the Kenyan market, and does not affect at all our investment. We didn't slow down our investment, for instance.
Interesting. Speaking about investment, Jean, this investment is one of the largest in the petroleum sector. Talk to us about the size and the scale of this investment. And of course, it is tipped to create lots of jobs for Kenyans and of course, deepen penetration of RUBiS in the petroleum value chain.
It was a significant investment at the beginning because we bought Canal Kobil. It was a listed company on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. So the amount that we paid is quite official, and then we bought Gulf Energy for a non-disclosed amount of investment, but that's not the topic now, because the topic now for us is to continue to invest. So what do we need to do? We need to completely renovate, rebrand the 230 sites we have in Kenya. That is a huge investment, and we are also not only changing the color of the brand, we are also improving the quality of our assets, meaning building shops, building facilities, car wash, bays. It means also bringing some investment in digital, for instance, because it's where we believe we can also create value. So it's a lot of investment in retail. It's also a lot of investment in our plants. For instance, we are commissioning early 2021 a new LPG filling plant in Kisumu, so it's also a big investment. And we'll continue to invest also in the field of aviation when we have to renew our fleet of refuelers, etc., etc. So it's a complete set of investment, which we believe will bring obviously value to the country and a lot of jobs, because when you open new activities, but you need Kenyan people to run these activities.
Sure. And looking at the size of investment, especially you're talking about the LPG business, what are some of the opportunities? Is it oversaturated? And what do the numbers look like?
LPG is a very interesting market because if you look at Kenya, we are not consuming the LPG we should. So I think there's a lot to do in order to increase the consumption of LPG, which is good for the people in terms of CO2 emissions, for instance, because it's a very clean energy. And if we talk about energy transition, which is a vast topic, definitely LPG is one of the short-term key solution to go into that energy transition. So we can do much better, but it's a complicated market because we're investing a lot, buying cylinders, buying new plants. At the same time, you know, the market is a little bit tricky with a lot of illegal activities. So I think one of the main aspects on which, together with the government of Kenya, we need to work on is to fight against that illegal activities, which are definitely slowing down the growth of LPG in Kenya. And it's a pity because, once again, there is a huge potential for growth.
All right. Would you say this is a strategic investment, and how much dollars are you sinking in?
I mean, it's always difficult to think only about dollars, but okay, I guess you like numbers. So I think we are going to invest, in addition to what we did in the past, we are going to invest $20 to $25 million every year for at least the next 3 to 4 years.
All right. And one of the big questions right now, Jean, is majority of investors at the Securities Exchange were accustomed to the Canal Kobil that listed at the exchange. Do we foresee a time where RUBiS could also consider coming on board on the stock market in Kenya? And is it something that will also be strategic for your business?
It's not in the plan in the short term, because we want to be fully free to do whatever we want in terms of strategy, in terms of investment, in terms of implementing our roadmap. But there are many RUBiS companies in the world where we have that kind of partnership with local investors. So I'm sure that in the long term that will come to the table, and that will be one of the subjects we can look into. That we have nothing against. It's just that I think in the next 2-3 years to come we have to really focus on our roadmap and investment plan.
All right. And Mr. Jean, you've served also as chairman for Total at some point back in time. the Kenyan market is very peculiar to new brands. What's your guarantee or your assurance to investors that eventually you'll be able to reclaim the market share that was enjoyed by Kenol Kobil and Gulf? And in terms of support from the industry players, what kind of support are you also looking forward to?
We are in a very competitive market, so I'm fighting. I'm having a competition from the big names, like, as you say, Total or Vivo. But not only, I mean, the Kenyan market is very open, very challenging. So we need to stick on our strategy, we need to stick on our roadmap in order to become again what Kenol Kobil used to be in the past, meaning one of the preferred brand for the customer. And we believe that with the expertise of RUBiS, with our commitment of our shareholders, that we will definitely be able to do that. But it will not be an easy journey, for sure. So, but that's my job.
Okay. And as we head to the tail end of our discussion, Mr. Jean, I'd like to also hear from you in terms of uptake so far in the market. I've seen you've done a lot of campaigns. You've been literally trying to talk to consumers, talk to the motorbike operators. How has this permeated into the public?
I mean, when you bring a new brand to the market, you need to let the people know what is your positioning, what is your story. And it was very important for us to definitely let the people know about who RUBiS is and what are our plans in Kenya. So that's why we did a lot of communication. But okay, communication is just the beginning of the journey. Now we have to deliver. So my commitment now is to deliver what we promised, what we said. And as you could mention, if we want to become the leading and the preferred brand in Kenya, if we want to make the Kenyan people life's journey better, as we like to say, it means now we have really to deliver and to show the people that we are serious about bringing convenience, serious about bringing quality products, serious about bringing innovation. So that is our journey for the next months to come.
All right. And as we finish off, Mr. Jean, as a company, many companies have been hard hit with the COVID-19, and supply chains have been affected globally. And what has really kept RUBiS afloat?
But RUBiS is a big company, so we can manage temporarily tough times because we have the support of the shareholder in Paris, and also because we have an extraordinary team. I was surprised to see how the team remained committed, and we continued to do our job and to perform our duties. So, as I said, we look long term. So whatever the situation during these COVID-19 times, we'll maintain the momentum, and we look at the future. The beauty is that when you are part of the big company, you can afford to have some difficult times like that. I cannot say that if it lasts for years and years and years, it will not become an issue, but I don't believe it will. So that is part of our journey, to continue and not to stop and go every time that a small or a big event is challenging us.
And speaking about events, what are your projections in terms of your market size in the next, say, 1 year? What do you see in your crystal ball?
First of all, I don't have yet a reliable crystal ball, but my take would be to say that Kenol Kobil and Gulf Energy was more losing some market shares, and they are not in a very good situation. So my target for the next months to come is definitely to stabilize and then to regain market share in the coming years. So my target, if I have to commit on one target, would be to match competition, and obviously after that to beat competition, because we are here to be the number one in the market.
Okay. We appreciate your time, sir, and we look forward to seeing how the company performs in the coming months.
Thank you so much, Esther. Asante sana.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Well, we've been speaking there to Mr. Jean-Christian, the Managing Director for RUBiS, just giving us perspectives on what to expect in the business landscape. And clearly, they might not be listing anytime soon, but they are keen on partnering with investors in the Kenyan market. Well, at this juncture, I want to cross over to my colleague Maina Chege with the market analysis for this week.
There goes the bell, and that means it's time for the market analysis. And joining me today to help us decipher these numbers is Samuel Gishohi, the Head of Business Development, NCBA Investment Bank. Many thanks for joining us, Samuel.
Thank you for having me.
Great. I don't know, it's been a month since you were here. Yes. I am sure you must have a comment about how the market has been over the period of the month. A lot of things happening, but what has been your view so far?
More of a stagnation. Okay. We've seen quite a bit of volatility, mostly driven by the uncertainty. Volatility is good, particularly for those investors who are speculative in nature. But generally, we haven't seen a definitive turn because foreign investors are not back completely. Local investors cannot really support the sort of sell-offs we had before this period. Yes, the likes of Safaricom have reached the sort of target prices we had for them, but we've seen quite a bit of volatility. And we expect to see more now that, for example, the US elections are coming up, which means foreign investors will probably take a back seat. Of course, there's also the currency volatility out there. So there's quite a lot happening, but it's just there.
Speaking of which, it's 6 days to the elections. And I know the markets definitely reacts to this. What's your so far observation?
Well, we would expect to see, again, as I said, you will see the volatility happen. There's those who feel, markets are moved by different perspectives. So there's those who feel this is a time to buy, and they will expect that there'll be a rally after the elections, and once that is done with. There's those who feel there's too much risk considering, the weaknesses you might also see in the currencies. And so, there's both buy and sell, which is actually good for a market because then it creates liquidity. But on that side, we are seeing a market with very low liquidity in the last 2-3 weeks. So again, it's pretty uncertain.
So would I be right to say we are sort of like on a straight curve, nothing much happening?
Yes.
All right. Let's move on to the new entries on the top gainers, because I see Standard Group is there, Home Africa, Flame Tree. I mean, all these are new boys in the top gainers, looking at the week-to-week that we've had over the month. What's your comment about this?
Well, just another sign of the stagnation, again, because the companies you're seeing there are very low, the volumes they trade are quite low to have any, particular effect on the indices. So if you look at the volumes that are being traded, they will tend to be on the Safaricoms, the equities, the KCBs. But again, the prices are not moving much, which then again points to the stagnation that I mentioned earlier.
That's true. So as of close of Tuesday, we are looking at the top movers being the big boys again, the Safaricom, Britam, Absa, Equity. Any comment on this?
Well, I would have expected to see KCB in there, but seeing Britam there again just
surprisingly it's missing, by the way.
Yes. But once again, these are the usual suspects. Safaricom, Equity, Absa is quite a big player in the market. So again, you expect the volumes to be there. I'm surprised to see Uchumi. I don't have any information on that, but I would like to probably see why that has moved that much.
All right. Maybe to finalize on this session, we're gearing up to the third quarter. For most companies are going to be giving their results. What are your predictions? What are your expectations so far?
Well, we shall usually third quarter you'll see mostly the financials because then they're obligated to report each quarter. And so we expect the announcements to start mostly with the banking sector, of course, and the insurance companies. Probably one of the reasons you're starting to see Britain in that list of the top movers. That said, we expect to see slightly better than second quarter, because then second quarter was the peak of the COVID-19. We'll probably see provisions for bad loans also increase, marginally, because then the effects of all those loans that were probably rescheduled and those that probably went bad will probably start to show on their books. But we do expect the results to be slightly better than what was in the second quarter. And of course, this will probably help to give investors some confidence that the banking sector and the financial sector is holding up well.
Okay.
Yes.
My question is this to you, Gishohi. Are we now at the bottom of the curve where we're expecting a bullish market in the next few weeks or months?
Well, I think we bottomed out somewhere in June, July.
Time. Yes.
Yes, I think that's where we bottomed out.
Yeah.
Right now, we did see a rally after that, but then again it stagnated. So we are probably looking at the new low. Although we have seen the likes of KCB and equity decline in the last few days. Probably those are expectations of what results are going to come out. But once I think the US elections happen, then we might now start to look at what the foreign investor is going to do as we see more stability on the currency front and more stability on the equities front, and investors start to look again to invest in the market depending on what signals we'll get from the election. Then we could now start to see a rally happen. But then again, in the background, we still have COVID-19 because as you can see, the numbers are not looking very good right now. So again, are we going into other restrictions, which then will probably have negative effect on the market.
So for investors, it's still a good time to think of buying, right?
Oh yes, it is still a good time to buy. We're still in a buyer's market.
Okay.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Finally, a comment on the shilling with all these elections and all these things that are happening. How's it behaving?
The shilling is holding up quite well. Of course, there are we're expecting to see the dollar weaken a little bit globally, and that will probably trigger sell-offs, which means it could also help to strengthen the shilling against the dollar during this election period, the US election period.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Gishohi, for helping us with the numbers. Up next is Markets 101, and jumping straight to it, someone is going to help us differentiate between two components here, a long-term investor and a short-term investor, or in other words, long-term investing and short-term investing. Over to you, Gishohi. What's the differences in these two terminologies?
Well, I'm sure most investors out there, you have heard that we say that always invest for the long term. So what is the long term? To me, long term means never try never to take money out of your investing account, which means in the long term, you have a goal or you have an objective that you want to reach over, say, the next 10 years, 5-10 years. But in the shorter term or in the medium term, it doesn't mean that you can move your assets around. So the idea here is, if I buy something today and I have an objective of, say, making 20% in a year, and I make my 20% in a year, then I can sell it and look for something else to look for another 20% in the next year. But that doesn't negatively, or that doesn't stop my objective for the long term, which is to be an investor. And of course, to be somewhere, maybe 5 to 10 years from now. So the long term and the short term can be more speculative. Even for us as analysts, it's very difficult to make, to make predictions in the short term. But in the long term, you can actually have a much better, ability to predict the outcomes of an investment.
Now, going to my favorite part of the session is now questions, and we have a 3-in-1 kind of questions from Cairo Karega. And the first question he asked was this: do you need to do a course in stock markets or study intensively to start trading in stocks?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
I think once you understand what a stock is and you're able to understand what the companies you want to invest in, we always say never invest in something you don't understand.
Okay.
The idea is to understand what you're buying. I mean, stocks, just like any other investment, is about knowing what you're buying and why you're buying it and why it's going to move from point A to point B.
Okay.
And so, I mean, most of that information is out there on the net, yes.
All right. Second question from him as well. Is trading in stocks the same as gambling?
Absolutely not. Well, of course, when you when you become speculative, you know, you're buying a share today because it will gain tomorrow. Then that is like gambling, because then, you know, you have no fundamental underlying fundamentals for making that decision. But stocks have an underlying product. They have the underlying asset. You see, you're buying a share. So you see, in gambling, it's a zero-sum game. You either win or you don't win.
And all your money is gone.
And your money is gone. But with a stock, you still have that asset, which has a value to it, which removes the gambling side.
And you know, something else that was said, you know, when you buy a stock, you actually own part of a company.
You own part of the company,
even as you wait, you also earn dividends on that.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing. So I think I would advise you, Cairo, gambling. So now for the other final question he asked is that, what are the risks involved in trading in stocks? This could be wide, but what could you say in a sentence?
The risk is, of course, loss of the value of whatever you're buying the share. And of course, that is usually just market driven. Maybe they're not making profits or they're making losses, etc. Of course, there's the risk that a company can be you know, can go bust, and of course that is a risk, and we have seen some companies, you know, be out of the market. But usually, because you have regulation and you have certain checks and balances within the market, then the risk of companies going bust is pretty well taken care of. The risk of, you know, gaining and losing is usually there, and that is why markets exist.
So I think it would be good to tell Cairo that, you know what, every investment has a risk factor on it.
Yes, and you know, the higher the risk, the more returns you can make. So the risk gives you a risk premium, and that's why stocks can give you higher returns than lower risk assets.
Wow. Many thanks for those answers, and I hope, Cairo, you're satisfied with that. And also to encourage you, the viewer, that listen, you can send in your questions. Hashtag is just Trading Bell. Once you send in your questions, we'll be right here to answer them. Right now, it's time for the historical fact for this week. That's it from us right here on the Trading Bell Show. We hope that you have had an insightful session. And many thanks, Samuel, for coming and helping us with the numbers.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Great. Now, for you, our viewers, we always say that, you know what, feedback keeps us going. And so we request that indeed you engage with us with the social media handles appearing at the bottom end of your screen. We'd like to hear from you, be it a question, be it anything that you may want to have. I want to leave you with this quote, which is now a Swahili one. It's a Swahili proverb, that mvumilivu hula mbivu. And that is in line with what Samuel has taught us, that, you know what, patience sometimes pays. That's it from us right here on the Trading Bell Show. See you next time, same place, same time, Trading Bell Show.